Distinguished guests, guests of keynote speakers and panelists, ladies and gentlemen, all the participants of the Business Forum, 5th meeting of heads of government, Central and Eastern Europe countries and China, 2016. And welcome you to the trade discussion, panel discussion here. And Latvia, all my friends from Latvia. And welcome friends from the 16 countries plus China. And I think we have gone through quite a conference and forums the whole day. And this is the last official agenda for business talks and economic discussions. And for talking about trade, I think Riga is the perfect place to talk it, because Riga was built and established 850 years because of trade, and started with trade and commerce. And trade is a topic very classical, has been a long time. But the ongoing internationalization of production has led to increasingly global productions and networks. And everybody here probably are curious, what can we do with the new mechanism of the China and Central Eastern European countries? We call it the 16+1. And what can we do here? So we're gonna, in the following time, we're gonna hear from the keynote speakers and to talk about these issues, and plus the inputs of the panelists that we have invited from various fields, and 6 of them here. I'm gonna introduce each of them when they come to the podium, all sitting there and talk for the interesting things that we are looking for. Our first keynote speaker is Mr. Terence Tse. In Chinese name is Xie Ziming. And Mr. Xie is quite a well-known academist. And he is very experienced and has tons of experience in commanding the international talks about trade, about economy, and about bilateral or multilateral cooperations. Especially, he is very much specialized in international cooperations about EU and China, and the CEEC plus China. Him and I talked a little bit, should I read his bio? In a very formal way, I said no. I would turn to the floor to him and let him to do more times to introduce himself. And let's give him a big applause. Okay. Thank you. Very kind. Thank you. Very kind.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for having me here today. It is indeed an honor and pleasure for me to be here at such a high-profile event to speak about the very important topic of furthering trade between CEEC and China. 女士们、先生们，非常感谢各位今
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for inviting me here. I'm very honored to be here.
Introducing me or not introducing me. I'm Terence Tse, an associate professor of finance at the ESCP Europe Business School. And on my card, it says that I'm an advisor and commentator. I guess, therefore, I am. In addition to my teaching, I have worked with the EU, the World Economic Forum, and the International Trade Center. And I've been helping companies to identify new growth opportunities using megatrends, my area of expertise. In the next 19 minutes or so, I would like to share with you some thoughts as to why it is important to trade further between China and CEC and what kind of challenges there could be. The subject of trade is of great importance, not only because it is an essential part of my research, it is also because it is something that I have to live with. Ever since Britain, where I live, voted to leave the EU this year, trade has become an important and tricky topic. Now, trade not only allows us to raise our standard of living, it also helps us understand each other much better, making the world like a better place. Now, why the UK has chosen to walk backward is beyond my comprehension, not least because Britain would now have to negotiate new trade deals with new partners. Indeed, the country has not had a single trade negotiator for the last 40 years because the EU has been negotiating on UK's behalf. So in my opinion, Britain's decision to leave is nonsense, as trading is a guaranteed path to prosperity and wealth creation. Contrast such backward and inward-looking tendency to that of China. In addition to the many policies that it has implemented, the fact that China Inc. is open to business speaks volume for this economic miracle. Just look at China's trade with different regions in the past 10 years. As you can see on the chart, the value of trade between China and various parts of the world has been growing at some 20% each year, every year. Now, what these figures tells us is that the trade between CEC and China has also risen, reaching some $56 billion US. But compared to other regions, there's still plenty of room for growth in the trade between the two economic blocs. What the figures do not say, however, is the kinds of goods and services that are being traded. Let me briefly mention some. Whereas Africa buys a huge variety of goods from China, China imports mostly resource-based goods, including energy-related, mineral, and agricultural products. As for the Middle East, while China has been importing from the region petroleum, fertilizers, chemical products, and metals, China has been exporting to the region textiles, clothing, as well as fruit products. In recent years, though, the types of goods that have been exported have actually moved up the value chain. Now they include LED television, telecommunications equipment, microwave, light trucks, and motorcycles, etc. As for the CEC, China's exports to this part of the world include machinery, base metal, textile, raw material, furniture, and toys. Some of the items that CEC exports to China include amber, crystal, food products, baby care and healthcare products, household products, cosmetics, and alcohol and liqueur. But trade, as you can imagine, is not just about exchanging goods. It is also about investment. From 2013 to 2015, investment by Chinese enterprises in this region has exceeded $5 billion US, up from 3.5 just 2 years ago. The investment primarily goes into sectors such as machinery, chemicals, telecommunications, logistics, commerce and trade, new energy sources, financial services, and agriculture. In the other direction, investments by CEC companies has exceeded $1.2 billion US in areas such as mechanical manufacturing, auto parts, chemicals, financials, and environmental protection. I'm hoping that from both Mr. Ni from the Beijing Municipal Commission of Commerce, Mr. Strats from Central Bank of Latvia, and Mr. Michalik, sitting next to me, from Lutz Special Economic Zone, will be able to share more with us on how the trade between China and CEC will enlarge and expand further. I'm also hoping that Mr. Wang from the China Construction Bank will tell us more about the finance aspects of trade. Now, these statistics shown here, however, while encouraging, do not really say much about where trade between China and CEC could be heading. Given that the business forum is to come up with future plans, I believe that trying to look ahead what could affect trade will allow us to be better informed. So, I can see that there are three benefits for furthering the trade between the two economic blocs. The first is risk diversification. I mentioned at the start that Brexit is going to hurt Britain, but the impact is likely to be far-reaching. An immediate result, I think, is that there will be a long period of uncertainty, not just for the UK, but also for the EU. To deal with this historically unprecedented event, the EU will be distracted from dealing with the economy when banks are still barely capitalized, economic fundamentals remain weak, and unemployment high throughout Europe. Why am I talking about these? The answer is simple, because I think it will be wise for any EU country to have stronger collaborations with non-EU economic powers. Now, with a statement like this, I may come across as a Eurosceptic. I am not. I just think it is common sense not to put all eggs in one large basket. So, and the key, so the key in my view is to use the mechanism of this event, to reach out to each other, to open up, and to have more conversations. And I guess trade is now easier to do than before, simply because there is machine translations which can help bridge or language, if not the cultural gaps, as Mr. Vasias from Tilda would hopefully shed some light on. But on top of this, there is another benefit. Different parts of the world have very different strengths, which brings me to my second benefit, the fact that there are actually a lot of opportunities to learn from each other. Around this time last year, on the invitation of the Geneva-based International Trade Center, a joint agency between WTO and the UN, I was asked to give a speech in Doha, Qatar. The topic was on SME and international trade. There on stage, I talk about how advanced Chinese enterprises are when it comes to e-commerce, and that there are lessons that companies elsewhere can always learn. On the stage was a panel member who works for a major US e-commerce giant. His response to my comment and advice was this: Chinese companies thrive because of protectionism, because of how the country has blocked out competition. Now, he obviously misheard me, as I was only saying that we can learn from Chinese companies, especially in how to harness e-commerce technologies. But what he took in conjured up a completely different understanding or misunderstanding. In fact, the debate got so heated that we almost got into a physical fight. Don't worry about it. I'm not prepared to actually repeat this here today. But you can therefore understand that why I feel vindicated and fully satisfied with just 2 months ago, The Economist published an article saying exactly that we can learn not only from the so-called GAFA, Google, Apple, Facebook, and Amazon, but also from the likes of BAT, Baidu, Alibaba, and Tencent. Indeed, on this note, I'm sure that we can learn from companies from the CEEC as well. So I was really hoping that Mr. Gobis from Let's Telecom would share with us how tech companies can thrive in this region. So get to learn how get to know each other, get to learn how each other works. The fact that's my third point, is leading the e-commerce and efficiency-driven innovations leads me to the third benefit, and that is this. China has a lot to offer in terms of technologies. Everywhere in the world, we are seeing more and more extensive deployment of technologies, and the use of technologies, and more precisely, automation, are going to change dramatically our business, economic, and social landscapes. Take fintech as an example. Just as a long time ago, China was using abacus and money way before many parts of the world, in late 2013, many people, both inside and outside of China, raved about Yuanbao, literally translated as leftover treasure, a money market fund offering roughly double the interest rate banks did. Launched by Alipay, an Alibaba subsidiary, the fund attracted 150 million clients and $93 billion within 18 months. A phenomenal feat. I see a confluence of factors puts China at the forefront of fintech, economic advancement, investor behavior, mobile technology, big data, financial industry liberalization. This tells us something very important. Not very long ago, this was impossible. The new mentality is only ingrained in China very recently. Now savers and investors have no qualms about entrusting online retailers, search engines, travel agencies, social media networks, smartphone providers, and even startups to manage our finance. What is key here is that behavior towards technology can actually be changed and changed very quickly. Something that I would imagine to closely follow by CEC, given how technologically astute young people are. I'm hoping that Mr. Jimenez from the EU SME Center will tell us more about the Chinese and the CEC consumers. Let's not forget one thing though. In the word fintech, the tech part is far more important than fin, as technologies used can serve a broad base for other activities, from e-commerce consumer front end to technology back end of supply chains and operations. Let's not forget neither, technologies are most impactful when they are deployed with the right business model. I'm hoping that Mr. Baumgart from Alibaba Group will actually tell us more, share his view. So I would like to ask you to have more dialogues between each other, between CEC and China, and because only through dialogues more can be achieved. Now these are the three reasons why I think furthering trade between CEC and China could bring benefits. But I think the path for expansion ahead will be very different compared to the one that we have all walked on in the past several years. Here, I will mention three possible challenges. First, with the increasing use of automation and robotics, I don't think countries can no longer rely on low cost as a proposition. This is because smart machines have been eroding cost advantages rapidly. As part of my work looking at how technologies are disrupting businesses and societies, I had a conversation with the managing director at Accenture, one of the largest tech consulting companies in the world. And he told me that several years ago, the so-called business process outsourcing, which means shifting operations off to lower cost countries, was still pretty much the norm. Today, this is replaced swiftly by robotic process automations, which contrasts to business process outsourcing is a form of inshoring. Two notes need to be made here. First, even though I was using the term robotic, it is not only about manufacturing physical products. In fact, the managing director, at Accenture, serves insurance clients. To give you another example, last week I was talking to a managing director at Club Med, an international tour holiday operator. She was using the term robots when she was talking about doing marketing. Second, when I say inshoring, it does not necessarily mean that operations going back to the countries of origin. So, if a UK company previously outsourced part of its operations to Poland, by the time it moves on to robotic process automation, this robotic process stays in Poland and doesn't go back to the UK because it's still cheaper to run the operations in Poland. The implication here, however, is that other countries intending to compete with Poland based on cost may find it difficult to convince the UK company to move the operations away from Poland. The second challenge that comes with expanding trade, especially with technologies, is that it can lead to more technological unemployment. Technologies and e-commerce have brought great benefits, but at the same time, they're eating up a lot of jobs. As part of my research on megatrends, we have observed that the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer. or at least in 16 European countries plus the US. What is happening to the middle income family then? The answer is that they're actually going in that direction. The fact is that they're actually getting poorer over time with the standard of living gradually deteriorating. The reason? Rapid development of automation and artificial intelligence. Machines have been replacing human labor for a long time, no doubt, but it is clear that it is no longer just machines replacing factory line workers and computers taking over basic administrative processes. I'll give you an example. I was speaking to a CFO at a global investment bank in London who was telling me that within the next 12 months, he is to reduce his team from 250 people to just down to 50. That's because the 200 jobs the other people have been occupying, they can actually be done by robots, algorithms, machines. The observations lead me to the third challenge. The fact that automation is quickly eroding even the professional jobs, it is necessary to actually re-examine the kind of educations we're giving to our next generations. I believe in well thought through policies. I believe in fair trade policies, but I believe that they would only work if the education system is providing the right skills and attitudes. The way that many current education curricula is designed is to produce capable administrators. As a business school professor, I see that there are lots of things that need to be changed, at least in the business school, in the business education space. It should be less about technical skills, but far more about dealing with uncertainty and ambiguity, being able to solve problems, and have the right ability to manage both people and robots. I believe that rethinking education is not restricted to universities. At the school level, curriculum should focus on encouraging children to build things rather than process things. It should perhaps concentrate more to make children curious rather than force-feeding them with knowledge. I should have known better. As someone who was born in Hong Kong, born and grew up in Hong Kong, I received an education that was purely based on how much I could memorize. As it turns out, it is grossly ill-suited to prepare for my activities today, especially with the technological change that we have witnessed in the past 20 years. So as a father of two daughters of 4 and 6, I really wonder how well their schools are preparing them for their future lives. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe that I'm at the risk of monopolizing the panel. I will be around today and attend the gala this evening, and I'll be more than happy to have further discussions with you and answer questions. Also, you're very welcome to connect with me on LinkedIn to further the conversations. Lastly, I urge you all to take this opportunity to talk to each other. As Mr. Yang, before we actually had this, before we start, he was making a great point, which I cannot help but to actually mention it here. He was saying that let's not just make this CEEC 16+1, but rather CEEC 16 and China plus. Try to actually get more out of it. 我就两地合作愉快。
I hope that we will have a good trade in the future.
Very much for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Chen.
Thank you very, very much.
And you gave us a great perspective about our cooperation. Our next keynote speaker is Mr. Ni Yugang, who came from Beijing, a very friendly city to Riga, and to every capital city of our 16 countries in the CEEC. Please, Mr. Ni is going to talk about the trade service, and he's very experienced in conferences and convention businesses. Let's welcome.
Dear guests, entrepreneurs, ladies and gentlemen, hello. I'm very pleased to take part in today's trade forum. Please allow me On behalf of Beijing Municipal Commission of Commerce and also the Organizing Committee Office of China, Beijing International Fair for Trade and Services, I would like to welcome you. At present, the development of trade and services has become an important momentum to keep the world economy growing in a strong, balanced, and sustainable way. Trade and services has also become a pathway for all nations to participate in globalization. China, the market has been very open and accelerating. The momentum of trade and services are performing very well. In 2015, the added value of trade and services hit 5.46 trillion, occupying more than 50% of the nation's GDP. The import and export of trade and services hit $713 billion and rank second in the world. In this year, the first half of this year, the added value of service industry occupied 54% of GDP. In the future, China will accelerate the market's opening up of education, healthcare, and elderly care, and also improve the market environment for R&D, logistics, marketing, and sales. We will promote the service-oriented structural reform and resolve many problems in the structure. We believe that the rapid development of service industry in China will bring to the world economy a broader opportunities and market. We believe that China and CEE countries will be frequented by the Belt and Road Initiative and also the 16+1 cooperation. Beijing, as the capital of China, has formed a service-oriented economic pattern in the mainland China. The added value of service industry occupied more than 80% of the GDP. We have convenient clearance, well-developed transportation, and excellent financial services, advanced ICT, cutting-edge scientific research, rich cultural heritage, and also abundant resources. Beijing is endowed by nature to develop service industry and trade in services. Till now, Beijing has trade connections with more than 200 countries and regions. More than 1,000 enterprises have run their business multinationally, and 58 Fortune top 500 enterprises have set their headquarters in Beijing. In 2015, the total volume of trade and services in Beijing hit $130.2 billion, occupying 29% of the overall volume of foreign trade in Beijing, and 20% of the overall volume of trade and services in the whole country, and more than 1% of the overall volume of the global trade in services. In the first half of 2016, the trade in import and export of trade hit $82.6 billion in Beijing. From January to September, the figure is $82.6 billion, surpassing last year. Beijing has frequent trade exchanges with CEE countries as well. In 2015, the import and export volume of trade and services among Beijing and 16 countries hit 621 million, and the export value was 374 million, and import value of 247 million. Till September 2016, 16 CEE countries have 144 investment projects in Beijing, and Beijing has invested $30.75 million in the 16 CEE countries to provide the development of trade and services with a better quality platform. Starting from 2012, the Ministry of Commerce and the People's Government of Beijing Municipality co-hosted the CIFTIS is the first global comprehensive exchange platform specialized in trade and services. It promotes contacting with China's high-level political and business resources and have in-depth communication with China's state-level industrial institutions and reach close business negotiation and cooperation with China. The government of China values this CEEC a lot. 2015, the Chinese government made it clear that CEEC is the leading fair of trade and services in China. China's state leaders have been present at these sessions. All 31 mainland provinces, including delegations from China, Hong Kong, and Macau, have participated. China Post, Air China, Costco, Tencent, Bank of China, Beijing Toronto, SF Express, and a great many of other famous Chinese enterprises participated as well. The development of CEEC will promote the development and cooperation in trade and services. World Trade Organization, the UN Conference on Trade and Development, and other organizations are our permanent supporting institutions and take turn jointly hold Global Trade and Services Summits with the World Intellectual Property Organization, International Trade Centers, World Trade Point Federation, and World Trade Centers Association are our international partners, and they organize our international conferences.
In total, 82 overseas countries and regions have participated in the first 4 sessions of CEEC. 105 overseas chambers, including E-Commerce Europe, the Global Association of the Exhibition Industry, and so on, have also participated our CEEC. The 4th CEEC for the first time chose a guest of honor, the UK, and the UK has made an exhibition and hosted their themed activity during the fair. The 4 sessions received favorable remarks from enterprises and participants and has attracted increasingly more interest and participation from both domestic and overseas businessmen. We believe that CEEC has now become a channel for China's service industry to further open up and a platform for deepening cooperation. The 4th CEEC concluded on June 1st, 2016, and the focus was science, technology, internet, IT service, culture, education, finance service, business and tourism, and healthcare. 122 forums and business talks, as well as 50,000 square meters of exhibitions hall and displays attracted 3,740 enterprises and 171,000 businessmen from 126 countries and regions. Representatives from 34 countries and regions and delegations from over 60 countries and regions participated in the fair. So far, we signed 331 contracts with a total intentional contract value reached $101 billion, among which 121 are intentional projects with a total contract value of $19.88 billion, accounting for 20% of the overall contract value. Czech and Lithuania have also participated our CEEC. The Chinese government attaches great importance to the cooperation with CEE countries and has built up a multilateral communication and cooperation platform with multi-layers, fields, and tracks. CEEC would like to be the bridge for trade and services among China and CEE countries and create more opportunities for both sides. Ladies and gentlemen, CEEC will adhere to the notion of innovation, integration, and development. Will focus on 6 key areas, including science and technology, IT service, education, finance service, tourism, and healthcare in a wide range. We'll also invite international organizations and other countries and organizations along the One Belt One Road to join us. We'd like to invite leading companies in domestic and international countries to join us. With the platform of CEEC, we will enhance the connection between China and all the other countries in the field of trading service, deepen the international trading services cooperation, and promote the value of service industry of the world. We look forward to meeting you at CIFTIS. Thank you. 非常感谢您，倪先生。我们接下来一位主旨演讲嘉宾是王先生，王洪章先生。他会来跟我们说一说他的银行以及金融行业，他们如何去推动贸易的。王先生也是中国建设银行的董事长兼党委书记，有请。Well, my speech is actually very similar to those of to that of the Secretary of Latvia. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. There's a Chinese saying that goes, "A timely heavy snow promises a good harvest." Last night we landed in Riga, and we had a heavy snow. So this means that our cooperation between CE countries will surely be a fruitful one. The 6th Business Forum is now held in Riga, and this, without any doubt, will attract lots of Chinese investment into CE countries. Each year we hold such forum in different countries and regions, and each forum has brought lots of fruits and achievements. Especially this is beneficial to the country that hosts this forum. After each forum, the cooperation results is impressive. In 2012, we formed the China CEE Heads of State Business Forum mechanism. And we've also established a medium to long-term agenda for cooperation between China and the CEEC, also the mechanism for joint commission and mixed commission. Through these mechanisms, we are able to materialize our cooperation in connectivity, equipment manufacturing, trade, finance, agriculture, and culture. Each year we see new progress. Also, the China CEE countries trade fair has signed lots of projects. In 2016, the number of projects signed in that fair was 240. China and the CEE countries remain to be the most financially dynamic countries. Currently, the global economy has slowed down. However, China and the CEE countries have maintained its mid to high speed of economic growth. This has deepened our cooperation. Given that the trade between China and the CE countries reached 56 billion and mutual investment reached $7 billion. CE countries are now upgrading its infrastructure and restructuring its economy. This matches our capacity building initiative. CE countries also have featured farm produce and advanced agricultural technologies. This is highly complementary to China. In recent years, well, the previous speakers have mentioned summits and OBOR One Belt One Road initiative. These are hot topics in recent years, and this represents great opportunities for countries along the One Belt One Road. This is beneficial for countries to coordinate their economic policies to ensure orderly move of their productive elements and to better allocate resources and to integrate their market into the world. In 2011, the first European international block trains were inaugurated, and this is the start of the 11,000 kilometers railway transportation corridor. So far, we have lots of projects, including Hungary-Serbia Railway, Montenegro Express, CHEC, and Riga Coal Terminal, ZTE and Huawei building networks in Bulgaria and Slovakia. All of these key projects are part of the One Belt One Road initiative, and this will bring mutual benefits to both sides. Business centers and logistic parks are also under construction in lots of Central European countries and Eastern European countries, as well as China. With the maturization of the mechanisms, there's even more we can do. For instance, under the lead of CCPIT and CCOIC, we've established China CEEC Joint Chamber of Commerce Chinese Council. The Secretariat is CCOIC. China Construction Bank is very honored to be the president, and that's why I'm here. China Guodian Corporation, China Energy Engineering Corporation, China Railway Group, and China CEFC Energy Company and ZTE are all vice president organizations. So far, we have over 100 members. Since its establishment, the Council has been working on to promote business cooperation between two parts, including trade exchange, industrial matchmaking, exchange visits, industrial communication, etc. And we hope that every country should establish such private organizations, because you need two hands to clap. And also, we need to make finance play a bigger role in this process and to encourage companies to cooperate with each other, to seek various financial innovations, and to improve the financing conditions, including the conditions in China. We need to make maximum use of the special credit line, investment fund, cooperation fund, and the financial companies. We need to promote currency swap. In the process of RMB internationalization, we will build more RMB offshore centers. We'll promote RMB settlement and make the business exchange more safe and more convenient. Chinese companies are more and more involved in the CEE countries' development. Also, the banking industry and banks in China are also paying close attention to the opportunities in this region. We seek to provide more services to companies in this area. You may know that Bank of China and ICBC have already set their branches in CEE region. The construction bank is now applying to set a branch in Warsaw, Poland, and we have already submitted our application to the regulator. We are waiting for their response. We've been going global for several years, and so far we have over 30 Tier 1 organizations in 28 countries. We have over 300 subsidiaries around the world. This morning, Mr. Aslatin mentioned they hope our Warsaw branch and our Latvia branch can also be upgraded and do more business. He gives me a very long list. I'll try to finish all these. We have lots of advantages, including our network advantages, our capital advantages. We'd like to provide more services to CEE companies, services such as financing, leasing, acquisition, etc. We'll also take internet financing, cross-border e-commerce, and PPP financing. We'll also provide such services to our clients. We have also identified lots of projects along the way of One Belt, One Road, including in areas such as electricity, construction, minery, transport, oil and gas construction, etc. We also seek cooperation with local banks and local financial institutions. We'll try to find cooperation opportunities. We'll also be proactively involved in the RMB clearance arrangement so as to provide more financial support for the 16+1 cooperation mechanism. This mechanism, as mentioned by our Premier Li Keqiang, will bring great benefits like the value of the diamond. We will further support this cause. Thank you.
Mr. Wang, and your perspective and your speech, you really give us a great idea what the banks could play in the role of the cooperation of the CEEC countries and China. Thank you, Mr. Wang. And our next session will be listening the speeches and comments from our 6 panelists. Our first panelist is Andres Strat, Advisor, International Relations and Communication Department, Bank of Latvia. Please. Thank you.
Thank you. If you don't mind, I will stay here and save time, not walking back and forth to the podium. I also threw away my prepared speech. I will just make some brief points. And the first point is about physics. I was very bad at physics, actually, at school. I'm even ashamed to say what my grade was. But I remember one thing, that in order to accelerate something or get something move, you have to reduce friction. And I guess that's true also for trade, and there are different types of friction. There's borders and customs, and then there are transportation costs and lack of interconnections. And I think in this, as Professor Tse mentioned, we are living in a difficult time for trade agreements. We see all the Brexit, we see the Brexit issue, we see all the problems with CETA, and I think in this time it's very, very crucial that we can bring down transportation costs and bring better interconnections, and that can serve for a while. It's not the best option, but it can serve for a while as a substitute for additional new free trade agreements. So that's my first point. My second point is about value chains, what was not mentioned in the presentation is that actually the CE countries and China, if you look at the bilateral trade, actually the trade is in deficit. So there is more imports from China to CEC than there is exports from CEC to China. But that hides one actually important fact. That there is a lot of intermediate goods going from CEC to such an important country in Europe as Germany, and Germany then in the global value chain is exporting the investment goods to China, and Germany actually has a positive trade balance with China. So these statistics they actually hide also the fact that CEC intermediate products are embodied in the final investment products that go to China. But there is also one more thing at the same time. China's growth model is changing, and as long as China had this export-driven and investment-driven growth model, that was perfectly fine, this setup for Central and Eastern European countries. Now the model is changing, so that means probably that there will be not that much growth in trade or exports of investment goods from Germany to China, and also CEC will export maybe not that much intermediate products that go into those goods to Germany. So what I'm trying to say is that the global value chains are changing, not least because of China's change in China's growth model. And that has important implications, of course, first of all, also for CEC. And we actually have to find a new place in the global value chain. And what is more, actually China is also increasingly becoming a player in the intermediate goods export again to such a country as Germany. So I guess it's only valuable for us if we recognize that we are also becoming, in a way, a little bit of competitors in the trade arena. So if we are complementary in the transportation sector, so in goods trade, for example, we are also competing. And on the positive side, I think that could be a stimulus for CEC also to look for a new growth model for trade, and also at the same time export goods directly to China, including finished goods, rather than go this way of intermediate goods through other countries that then export the finished goods to China. But that brings me to my third point, which is also related to the train that arrived today at the Riga Central Station from Yivu. That train, as you know, carried some goods, so there were goods on the train. It was not an empty train. But at the same time, both the speaker at yesterday's forum and also the vice mayor of Yivu today said that it's important not only to get goods on the train, so that the train is full on the way from China to Riga, but also the other way around. So I think that's an important thing. And talking to business people yesterday, actually, no, sorry, this morning somebody said that, yes, there are issues about investment, barriers to investment from China in CEC, but I think at the same time there are also some barriers of goods, for goods to go from CEC to China. Maybe it's not a great China wall, I would not say that. Maybe it's a small China fence that we have to jump over, but still it's there. So of course every action that facilitates, also that lowers some non-tariff barriers is clearly beneficial. And finally, I think for the CEC and also for my country, for Latvia, what we have to think about is, given how huge the market in China is, we have to think about niches. So either they are niches such as eco products, when it comes to food, that also my country is strong at, or it's geographical niches that we look at a particular province, or we look even at a major city as our market, rather than looking at the whole of China as our market initially. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Andres. And I would love to invite our next panelist, Mr. Rafael Himitis. And I would describe him as the babysitter of SMEs for the companies and the small business enterprises, because he spent almost 8 years in China, and he's now served as the director of the government relations, the business development director for EU Small and Medium Enterprises Center. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Nisimen, Xiansimen, Xiaohao. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I work for European Union and for small and medium enterprises, and I do something which apparently is easy, but in practice is quite difficult, which is to help them to make business in China. Small and medium enterprises do not have deep pockets, they don't have resources to understand China in depth. So from the center we tell them where are the opportunities in a changing China. At the same time, we tell the European Union and small and medium enterprises what are the opportunities that Chinese companies are looking in Europe. So this is where we spent our time, and so far we have been quite successful matching European Union companies, small or medium, with Chinese companies. And I have heard this afternoon very interesting things here from Chinese counterparts and from European counterparts. If I tell you the numbers, when we go for dinner, you will have forgotten the numbers. If I tell you that Europe is exporting 170 billion every year, or in 2015, by the dessert at dinner, you will not remember if it's 320, 710. However, if I tell you that between China and European Union, the trade is 1 billion euros per day, you start now to remember a number. If I tell you something different, like the trade between European Union and China is another number, but easy to remember, 1 container per second. Now you will remember better, which is the relationship in trade between a geographical space like European Union and China. Some of the countries that belong to this group are also from the European Union, and that's why we appreciate having been invited to this session to explain the answer to one question that I receive in every forum. Is it worth to do trade with China? And the answer is yes. But you will not upset up front that I say yes just because my name is Rafael. You will need some rationale behind. The rationale is both strategic and tactical. And first, the 13th five-year plan of the Chinese government. This time they are not saying we're going to build so many bridges, we're going to make so many highways. This time, if you read what they plan to do, is basically in 2020 we want our citizens to be happy. Yes, that's what they say. So now they are transferring to the citizens to make the country grow, to pull up from the market. The domestic market is trusted by the government to boost the economy. This time won't be making highways or railways. Will be consumers, which now have much more money than 15 years ago, including rural people, that will boost the Chinese economy. And this means an opportunity in trade for all the European Union SMEs. Not only that, they have proposed, in particular, Mr. Jack Ma, which is the boss of one of the speakers today, and then was accepted by Chinese government to make cheaper for European Union SMEs to do trade electronically. And they propose electronic platforms like the one they proposed in the G20 meeting in Hangzhou. But there are also some tactical reasons for you to think to want to do trade with China. There are more than 100 cities above 1 million people. When companies call me, they say, Rafael, we want to do business in Shanghai. Why in Shanghai? Did you think about Chengdu? Chengdu in the West, there are 300,000 engineers. There are no 300,000 engineers in my own country. So these guys, they make good salaries. They will spend money buying things from Europe. So you need to have more granularity to find the opportunities for your company or for your products or for your services in China. But I tell you, if you analyze deep in detail, there will be an opportunity for your products. I don't want to forget another tactical reason was commented today is freight, the one belt, one road. 5 years ago, there were no trains going from China to Europe. Now there are. It is true that some of them are returning empty, but this will change over time. So strategically, this favors, that's my point, to consider China as a good trade partner, which are the 10 areas where we have data, European Union SMEs are making money. These 10 you see in the back, automobiles, construction, etc. The 4 that are in green, in orange color are the top. Green tech, healthcare, information technology, and food and drinks. In all these areas, there are European Union SMEs doing business with China. You might see the last one, which is textiles. Is there any company in Europe selling textiles to the king of textiles, which is China? Yes. There is people doing intelligent textiles. They send to China carpets with a chip that tell you how much weight is on top of the chip, and Chinese are very interested in learning how Europeans do this. So now you need to have more intelligence in thinking what to trade with Chinese because they are going up the value chain. So there will be also challenges. Do not think it is easy. Language and culture is difficult. Attracting and retaining talent in China is also difficult. There are still some market barriers. And sometimes the regulations are a little bit fuzzy. But China is improving on this. Access to financing, people from the banks, is still difficult in China. Anyhow, my recommendation regarding trade with China in closing is, both from the tactic point of view or strategic point of view, we think it looks very promising for this group of countries to continue to do trade with China in both ways, because some opportunities disappear and others emerge. We strongly believe that the domestic market of China will help this group of countries to increase the trade, and although we are always cautious at the European Union, we remain very positive about the future of trade with China. That's all. Thank you very much. 谢谢，非常感谢。
Thank you very much, Rafael. And well, next, the panelist will be the representative from Alibaba, the most famous today in e-commerce from China. And that will be Mr. David Baumgart. And he just joined the Alibaba, but before then, he stayed quite many years in China. He can speak a very fluent Chinese.
No.
And although he came from Germany and served as a German diplomat, serving the commercial department in the German embassy in Beijing for many years.
Thank you very much, Mr. Yang, and honorable panelists and distinguished guests. I would now like to take the opportunity to introduce Alibaba to you, our activities in China and also in Europe, and also our view on global trade. Good. So Alibaba was actually founded in 1999 by 18 entrepreneurs and led by Jack Ma, and the company is very strongly driven by the entrepreneurial spirit that Jack Ma has. He's a former English teacher from Hangzhou who trained by guiding tourists around the Hangzhou West Lake, and then one day started to set up a company that is focused on e-commerce. His main goal has always been, and that's still the DNA of the company, to support SMEs in reaching their customers and doing trade across China and now across the world. The goal of the company is actually to survive for at least 102 years, because Jack's dream is that it will last for 3 centuries. So starting in 1999, we should at least make it to the 21st century then. And our mission is to make it easy to do business anywhere, which I think very nicely fits to this conference. Alibaba is now the largest e-commerce company in the world and does $485 billion in gross merchandising volume every year, and has 434 million active annual buyers in nearly all countries around the world, and more than 10 million active sellers. The company is invested in a logistics network called the Cainiao network that does 42 million deliveries every day on average. And the 11th of November, which is coming soon, is a very special day for the company. It is actually the Singles Day, a day that Alibaba has created in China for singles who maybe feel lonely and want to do some shopping on that day. 11/11, of course, is 4 times number 1, so that's why it has been chosen for this day. There are many products on offer on that day on the various shops of Alibaba. And actually, the company has been making $14.3 billion of sales on 11th November alone last year. I want to point out that actually most of these sales, 69%, are already done mobile in China. So China has made in e-commerce the transition to mobile, and now most people go shopping with their mobile phone and not with a stationary computer anymore. You saw the high numbers of customers that the platforms of Alibaba have, but China is not yet covered by e-commerce. There are still large areas of the country that are not reached by the current logistics networks, especially in the western areas and in remote parts of the country. There's still a large potential to tap, and we hope to bring the 600 million rural citizens in China that are not on e-commerce platforms yet into the system and spread out across the country, though there's still a very large growth potential in China for the company. So Alibaba is not just an e-commerce platform, it is actually a network of different platforms and services that complement each other and that support SMEs and brand owners in reaching their customers, be it in B2B or B2C. There's Alibaba.com, the original platform, which is a B2B platform, where, for example, you can order also here products from Chinese suppliers, compare them, check their offers, exchange with them, exchange documents, and so on. But we are also hoping to bring more European products to Tmall, which is a platform in China that sells international products to Chinese customers who are very hungry for quality products, for example, from Europe. We have acquired a platform called Lazada, which is in the core commerce field here. That's a platform that sells in the ASEAN countries. So we are now spreading out and going global. But the network is also complemented by Alipay, our payment and financial service system. If you have ever been to China, maybe you know that Chinese like to pay with their mobile phone already, and Alibaba is the market leader in such payment systems. But it's not only a payment solution and a mobile wallet. There's also a lot of services that might be called fintech here in Europe. Like you can put money into it, you can get small credits as a business owner or as a consumer, and so on. I already mentioned the logistics platform. There's a marketing service platform that helps brand owners to promote their brand that is actually called Alimama. And there's a new and growing business in cloud computing that is growing very nicely and very profitable. So Alibaba is also exploring new fields there. Alibaba is also a very large media company in China, and for example, the Chinese YouTube called Youku belongs to Alibaba. We also operate a browser and many other services. In 2020, China will be the largest market in the world for imported e-commerce goods, as this is a very strongly growing sector, and there's also support from the Chinese government in terms of good regulation that enables cross-border e-commerce to strive. And many European products are performing very well. For this presentation, I chose one store by a German teddy bear company called Steif that now sells with this online shop into China. But there are many other products that are in high demand, food products, household goods, clothes, and so on. But we not only organize trade around the world, we also try to inspire political leaders with a new concept called the Electronic World Trade Platform. As you maybe know, the G20 summit was held this year in Hangzhou, which is the city where Alibaba is headquartered. And Jack Ma led in this summit the task force on SMEs within B20, which is the business wing of G20. And we brought forward a project of connecting SMEs and consumers globally by making more use of the new opportunities that the digital field has to offer. In short, the concept is actually driven by the idea that SMEs do not participate enough in global trade yet. It is still something, because of the high transactional costs of global trade, that is driven by large companies, and for SMEs it is still difficult. We want to increase opportunities by SMEs by using digital technologies. Yeah, I'm going. It's the last slide. Don't worry. Yeah. and thereby accelerate the globalization of SMEs in using our platform, but of course also other platforms, and bringing them to the global market. So to make it short, our mission is to make it easy to do business anywhere, and we want to do that in this region and in many other regions by using digital technologies and the contact with China. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Bowman. As we are running out of time, and the rest three panelists will be shorten their speeches. And now let's welcome Mr. Andres Vasiliev, and the chairman of the TILDIT, and telling us about how does his translation software could facilitate our trade. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I will try to be quick, and e-commerce market is huge, in particular in Central and Eastern Europe. It's more than 115 billion euros, but it's very difficult to enter this market due to language fragmentation. This is one of a key challenge to enter into this market because we speak in more than 80 languages in Europe, and 24 of these languages are EU official languages. So some may think, why not to address all these customers just in English? But English actually is not an answer, because still surveys show that majority of Europeans do prefer their own language. They do not speak English well enough, and they do not want to purchase goods or services online if they are not in their native language. So what to do? In what language to use to address Europeans? And Umberto Eco famously said that languages of Europe is translation. But human translation in e-commerce applications is not a solution. It's too expensive and too slow to translate millions of product descriptions. So machine translation is an answer, and machine translation can help you automatically and instantly to translate description of your products, address your customers in their language, and also to involve your customers in communication, to understand what they want, what they do think about your product, and how to better serve these clients. And here in Latvia, we have developed unique technologies in cooperation with leading European universities that make translation adjusted and customized to your particular specific needs of your online e-commerce solutions. And actually, these solutions prove to work better than Google and are more secure and confidential, of course. And many e-governments, e-commerce providers, and many SMEs already use these services, and we are also happy to serve global players like Microsoft and IBM for their specific needs in machine translation. So we believe that technologies that have created here in Latvia for machine translation can help to overcome fragmentation of e-commerce market in Europe, and to help you enter this market and to reach the huge potential of Central Eastern European countries and broader Europe. And I would like to say that it's not just about making money. It's also about addressing hearts of your customers. And there's this nice poster put on the wall of Beijing Language and Culture University, and it says, if you talk to a man in a language he understands, that goes to his head. But if you talk to him in his own language, that goes to his heart. So let's use technologies to address and to reach hearts of your customers. Thank you very much. Paldies.谢谢.
Our next speaker will be the chairman of the Management Board of Directors and the CEO of Latvia Telecom, Mr. Juris Gulbis.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished panelists, it's a big honor for me to be part of this panel. My part of the panel is to tell you about how Latvia's IT services and telecoms infrastructure can facilitate the trade between China and CEE countries. As we all know, in time of growing importance of e-commerce, robust IT services and infrastructure is a key element in developing of the trade. In Latvia, we are a country which can be proud of our digital achievements and success story. We have one of the fastest internet speeds both in the world and in Europe. 60% of Latvia's households have access to fiber optic network to the home with a speed of up to 1 gigabit second. Riga has almost 5,000 free Wi-Fi access points, and therefore we can claim the title of free Wi-Fi capital of Europe. Telecom is the biggest telecommunications and IT service supplier in the Baltics. We offer a wide range of solutions from telephony to development of custom software and also artificial intelligence solutions. We create customized solutions for businesses, for small businesses and also for large corporations. Our Trans-Baltic Gateway is a part of infrastructure that connects together with our partners, Megaphone and Deutsche Telekom. We connect China to Europe and to the United States. Telecom provides parts in Latvia and Lithuania. The key and also we have connections to most of the European cities. This is an important part of our infrastructure which provides secure and reliable connections for the businesses that try to work both in China and in European region. We have most secure data center in Northern Europe. It's Tier 3 certified with PCI DSS certificates, which allows for processing and storing of financial transactions. Our customers are large corporates, banks, insurance companies, and also e-commerce companies. One of our main partners is Huawei, who helped us to build GPON network, which is the biggest part of our fiber network here in Latvia, as well as IP telephony solutions and other important parts of our network. On top of that, we are the main provider of data center services. We have a large team of software development and maintenance specialists, and the new area of our work is safety. So I hope that this short presentation in limited time will help you to understand how Latvia can be part of global supply chain and improve cooperation between China and Central European countries. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Joris. And our next speaker and panelist, and it's my pleasure to invite Mr. Marek Michalik, President of Board of Directors, Lodz Special Economic Zone from Finland. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to present you very briefly in my presentation. Firstly, I would like to tell you that we are a member of EU and Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank and One Belt and One Road initiative. We have, as a Poland, central location in Europe and already highways, railway cargo and infrastructure. And our internal market, it is about 30 million people and free access to 500 million consumers. And what is interesting, we have diplomatic relation with China from 1949. This is information about trade characteristic Poland and China. The export is still growing. We are very satisfied because of this, and there's information about the main products who exported to China. It is copper products, mechanical equipment, vehicles and auto parts, rubber products, and others. This picture presented our presidents, China and Poland, and inform us about key sectors in Lodz region It is agriculture and pharmacy, biotechnology. We have great companies, poultry and farming, and vegetables, fruits, and so on. We have plenty of companies who ready to cooperation with China partners. It is, this map presented location Poland, special economic zone, and Łódź. It is central Poland, central place, and Central Europe too. Our shareholder is Minister of Economic Development. This is information about our investor in Łódź and special economic zone. This is information about tax incentives. It is most important maybe for investors from China. Tax incentives up to 55% investment costs. It is a proposal to Chinese and the others investor in special economic zone. Technological power for Chinese entrepreneurs. It is this issue is our proposal for Chinese entrepreneurs. It is very interesting in my opinion because we selected invested areas in industry and logistics and primary location in Łódź. My time unfortunately is up, so thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you so much. And to save the time, even a few seconds, I would like to thank you so much for the keynote speakers and also the great panelists that we have. And your opinions, your perspectives and comments really give us a good understanding of the cooperation and common developments of the CEEC and China. And my gratitude and our gratitude also goes to the great audience. And thank you very much for your patience and for your involvement. And thanks a lot. And also, I want to thank the interpreters who worked behind the glass. And your job really helped us to understand each other. Thank you so much. And it's my great honor to be the moderator of these great discussions. And thank you so much, the host. And the host of this forum, the Latvian government, the Ministry of Economics, and other ministries of Latvia really give us a great warm feeling here. Your hospitality treat us so great. And we're going to remember, we're going to come back. Thank you. Thank you so much.